My plan is now to make a prototype of the fixture itself, and the two variables that I needed to consider was the width of the slot and the length of the slot. They're the two variables on a comb itself. In the shop I had a small little Proxon saw, which is okay for prototyping but not very good for making the full scale model. The blade width was only 2mm and the comb slot width is 4mm, so I had to address that. The next stop was the local woodyard, where I bought some plywood, and I made up a small sledge. This is just a small little skid. I call it a skid or a sledge, that fits over saw benches. Anyone that does woodwork is going to know all about these. But it's just a couple of guides in the existing guide rails of a saw, and just makes it a little bit more controllable. With regards to the horizontal movement of the comb, I made a little slide, a little horizontal fence that slid on a 45-degree rail. That gave me the control I needed for going left and right. Obviously a saw blade is only going to cut one slot, and I needed to be able to index the slot along. Now, to index the slot to a precise measurement, the saw blade was only 2mm and the slot in the comb is 4mm. So I had to find a way of indexing the comb along, and I came up with an idea of using a small little stylus. And this was just a piece of metal that I screwed to the side of the fence. It was the exact width of the saw blade, and then I could put any comb on the fence, and the stylus would index along to the gap, and then I could index the comb along and then push it and cut the actual slot itself, and that worked really well on the prototype, so I was happy with that. The only thing that I was not too happy with was the ends of the slots themselves. This particular saw blade did cut a bit of a jagged edge, and I needed to come up with a better way of making that a lot squarer. So now it's time to make the full scale jig. What I did was, you can just see here that it is exactly the same as the prototype with its construction. I have in my garage quite a large table saw. This is a Bosch table saw, but really it's the same principle as the small little Proxon saw that I had in my workshop. I just cut a few 6mm blanks just to try the process out. With regards to the depth of the cut, what I did was I bought off of eBay a little digital readout, and I mounted that onto the actual jig itself. And by turning the handle, you raise and lower the blade, but there's no way of telling how far the blade comes up or down. So I managed to fit onto the motor a digital readout here, and when you turn the actual handle, you can very precisely raise and lower the blades exactly. So that was the way that I dealt with how deep the actual blade was going to cut the comb. Then it was just a case of putting the wood into the actual fixture itself. With regards to the indexing of the comb along, I managed to find a box cutter blade that was 4mm wide, so there was no real indexing to be done left and right, other than just for the actual slot itself. So here we are, sped up with me just cutting the 10 slots on the actual comb. So there you have it. That's how we made the comb for the Great British Harmonica company, and I hope you enjoyed watching the videos. There's only really one thing left to do.